Welcome back. And this is what it looks like to have a golden spoon in your mouth. This is my golden spoon. This was my golden opportunity to return to the land of my ancestors, Ghana. When we left off last time, uh, we were talking about uh, people thinking that I was a Rasta because of my hair. Because, after all, everybody knows that when you wear locks, you must be a Rasta. And if you're a Rasta, you must smoke weed. So that was kind of an issue living in Ghana because after they told me that you could get 10 years in prison for one joint if I did smoke weed, I would certainly not be smoking it in Ghana. So reality sets in. We have a honeymoon period where everything is just absolutely wonderful. Everybody's wonderful. And then reality sets in. So that's where we're going to start from today. Every day, Nana and I would go to the site where our home was being built. And we would wait for the brother, Kojo, Kwajo, whatever the hell his name was. And we would wait for him to come and finish working on our house. When he did come, very little work got done, and then he just stopped coming altogether. Nana would go to town tracking him down, and he always had an excuse. And our lawyer, he wasn't much help either. He kept saying, not to worry, not to worry. Do something, we demanded. You're a lawyer. Aren't you supposed to be looking out for our interest? Finally, after threatening a lawsuit, the lawyer got Kwajo to come to our unfinished house, which was not being completed per our agreement. After listening to a lot of bullshit conversation that was being spoken by both of them, Kwajo told our lawyer, I'm doing the best I can. Everything is very high, and they're always questioning and complaining about how I do things. We had been questioning because people who knew the job were trying to help us, for they knew that he was cheating us and that they would never say anything to him, being fearful of his wrath and or the loss of their job. But they could quietly advise us on the QT, which they did. And we were grateful, for we needed all the help we could get. Well, I understand that the cost of materials is going higher each day, but you must try hard for them, the lawyer croaked. They will soon have to give up the house they're staying in. They are my sisters and my brothers, Kwajo crooned, with a snide smile on his face, not looking at Nana or I as he spoke, and the lawyer kept nodding his head up and down, like one of those Kiwi dolls that people use in the back window of their cars. Don't worry, don't worry. If a person can't look you in the face when they talk to you, don't trust them, my mother used to say. With those words ringing in my ears, I knew we would not get any more from Kwajo than we currently had, and our jackleg lawyer wasn't going to help us any better. I got so mad that I told them off. Don't call me your sister, I told them. Neither of you know the meaning of sisterhood, brotherhood, or righteousness. Turning to our lawyer, I continued, and one day, that Bible that you're always preaching from will burn up in your hands, and you will both get your just rewards for what you've done. Nana signaled to me to be quiet, but I was too fed up. Tears flowing, I continued to blast them. How could you both be so callous and greedy? You can both go straight to hell as far as I'm concerned. I started to turn away, leaving Nana in discussion with them. You're both wicked men and will burn in hell for what you've done to us. With that, I stormed off to have a good cry all by myself. Another friend that we had met in town a few days later had the tenacity to ask us, "What kind of lucky charm are you using on Kojo that he has not ripped you off?" Seething, I responded through clenched teeth, "You should have asked that question a few weeks ago. There isn't and never was any good luck charm." It was now clearly out in the open, and I understood beyond a shadow of a doubt that our good brother Kwajo, big man about town, was nothing more than a petty thief and con artist, and our lawyer wasn't much better. Well, so much for the help of a brother when coming home. The brother had helped himself. From that point on, we were totally on our own. Between Nana, Bongo, Shorty, Mama D, and I, we were determined to finish building our house ourselves. We were the perfect contractors team, a retired New York City firefighter, an ex-human resource administrator, a fisherman boat builder, and an artist. We were good to go. When we took over the construction and moved into the house, it had no windows, no doors, no ceiling, no floors, no running water in the house, no electricity, no sinks, and no toilet seats. The roof in the master bedroom was incomplete, and the stars were our covers. If it rained, we just slept in another part of the house. I felt quietly excited, though. Two of the most beautiful stars had risen from the southeastern side of the ocean, part of the dungeons, the dragon's tail. Yet another miracle of the Creator. As I sat and reflected, I thought about the many Ghanaians who think that we're crazy for leaving America to come here and suffer, and rich because we were able to leave. We took basically the same kind of chance coming to Africa as we would take in coming to America. In fact, they would have a better chance in America. I feel safer here. We didn't come here to alienate anyone or cause problems. We just came home. Coming home, we also perceived as a dollar bill with legs, because everybody thought we were rich. Everybody, even the little children in the street would say, "Give me money, give me money." I said, "Why am I giving you? Just give me money." But our experiences with Brother Kwajo was a learning experience, a costly one, but one of the many experiences we would have in the repatriation process. That man is a real beast with a capital B. Lord, give me strength. I still had a hard time believing that he had treated us in such a negative and ugly manner. We had lived in his home with his family, staying with him before we finally came to settle at his invitation. We didn't stay rent-free. We paid our way. His daughter carries my name, and he was one of the people that offered the most encouragement, valuable assistance, time, and energy while he was setting us up. When we first found out that we could build a house, a real house, for about $10,000 US, We were ecstatic and immediately put the process in motion by the time we were forced to return to the United States in November 1990 to bury my mother. By the time we returned to Ghana again in 1991, the price of the house was $16,500, according to Brother Kwadwo. Still, it was not a bad price for a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, or water closet, as they call it in Ghana, house on the ocean front. Not bad at all. But we got suckered really good from a non-caring, greedy African con man who would have taken our place if we had given him more chances. As it was, he chopped 15 feet of our property, but more about that at another time. How unfortunate that man must live this way. I'm still trying to pray for those who spitefully use me. Oh well, the following day, Nana went to the carpenter to get the doors, but he refused to give them to us, claiming that Kwadwo had not paid for them. He had not paid in his money. That's not our problem, we said. We paid for those doors, and it's up to you to get the cash from Kwadwo. But we had already paid and paid plenty for nothing. So then Nana and I went to the police station, where we also got no satisfaction. He spoke to the person who said he was the police chief. Finally got the carpenter to bring the doors to the police station. He then wanted Nana to drive him over to Kwadwo's house because they didn't have a police car, so he could bring it in for questioning. Needless to say, he wasn't home and did not respond to any of the messages left for him. After several days, Nana returned to the police station and met the same person again. My brother, what's happening with our doors? Where are my doors? Nothing, came the reply from the police officer. Nana was furious. What kind of justice is this, he continued. Doesn't anyone take things seriously around here? But the officer, not in the least bit ruffled, said, "Would you like to visit your doors?" Like he was, like we were there to visit a friend. Hell no, said Nana as he stormed out of the police station and got into his car. As Nana was starting up the car, the policeman walked up and leaned into the window. Why don't you buy me a couple of beers, he said. Or, give me small chop so that I can buy a sandwich. Nana said, "Get off my car." He shouted at him in frustration and proceeded to drive off. But as he reached the gate, he reconsidered and returned to the officer. Putting money in his hand, he told him, "Buy yourself a few beers." After all, it wasn't his fault that things had gone the way they did. The policeman looked at Nana, said, "Madasi, now you know how we do business in Ghana." With that, the next day, our doors were released from jail. It was now July, and the owner of the house that we were staying in was coming home from France and would need his place back. We had never met the owner, only the owner's brother, who was his caretaker. In fact, we were a few months late in vacating the premises as we had anticipated, moving back in February, and everything had not gone according to our plans. Bongo, Mama D, Nana, and I reasoned over the situation we were in and decided to move into our uncompleted house immediately. After all, our uncompleted house was almost in the same condition as the place we were living in. The most significant difference was that this was our house. We owned it. No rent, no mortgage, no windows, no doors, no ceiling, no floors, no running water in the house, no flushing toilet. But other than that, the house belonged to us. It was ours. The most significant difference was that it was our house. So we just put screens to the windows, installed the doors, hung up our hammocks in our bedrooms, brought a couple of slop jars, buckets to take the place of our toilet, and moved into our first home in the motherland. That first night was very special. Mama D and I cooked this fabulous meal of fried fish, plantain, rice, and peas, while Nan and Bongo played the drums, with Bongo firing up his repeater. We chanted and sang songs of redemption and praise, while thanking the Almighty Creator for returning us safely home and putting us into our own space. That entire night, a cricket sang, blending in perfectly with our drumming, singing, and chanting, as though reaffirming our blessings. I couldn't have been happier. We had learned a lot of lessons, and we were about to go into the business of building a house, our house. There was much to do. We were officially our own contractors. I awoke the next morning looking at the sky. Good thing it wasn't April to July, the rainy season, for the roof in our bedroom was still uncompleted, and the sun's rays were shining in my face. I glanced over at Nana, who was still sleepy, and eased out of my hammock and went to stand on the veranda. It was a perfect morning. A slight breeze was blowing. "Welcome to our place," I practiced. Uh, Welcome to our place. Um, Welcome to One Africa's home. Uh, Welcome home. We were still in the process of building, but just sitting down anywhere, I laughed to myself. Yes, 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 I shouted, that the rest of the house was still sleeping. Hot damn in the morning, eyes in my own place. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. While I was acting the fool, Mama D woke up. She had been awoke for a while herself and was also enjoying being in her own space. "Well," she said, "we got plenty work to do, but we'll get it done." The first few weeks were spent sorting things out and assessing what had to be done, how to do it, who to get, who to do to, who to do to do to, ah, who to get to do the work that we needed to have done. Those things that we couldn't do ourselves, like concreting the floors, building the windows, installing the electricity, getting running water, because most of our money was gone. But we were still in fairly good shape, and Nana's monthly pension check would carry us through. When the word got around that we had moved into our uncompleted house, many of the workers started coming around again. They were looking for work and knew we needed to complete our house. But our biggest problem was that we could not pay an entire crew, for we had got none of our money back from Brother Quadjo. We were going to have to finish the house a little bit at a time. Our first undertaking was to complete the roof in our bedroom. We had to buy additional roofing sheets and get someone to finish the job. In the meantime, Mama D fired the painters, who claimed that they knew what they were doing, but they had more paint on them than they had on the wall. Mama D came in there. She was furious. She said, "What the hell are you doing here? You not know how to paint. You have paint all over your face, paint on the floor, paint upon your shoe. Get out! Move from here!" Sure enough, she fired them. She fired them. They had made a mess. She said, them call themselves painter. Me can paint better than that. So you should take yourself and go on. And she painted that entire house. No paint on the floors, no paint on her. Beautiful professional paint job in our first house. So much for hiring contractors. So, so, here bunga man, him for chime in too. Him say, "Yes, man, Sister dear, shall work like a horse. Shall work well, you'll see." And we did see. We had a beautifully painted house when Mama D got finished. We paid them, though. We didn't try to cheat them. We paid them, thanked them for coming, and wished them well on their next job. It would not be with us. And Mama D, she attacked that job with a vengeance. You wouldn't believe. And within a week, the entire place had been painted. Remember, we had 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, living room, dining room, kitchen that didn't have a sink in it. She did all of that in less than 7 days. We were able to hire a mason, and the mason finished concreting the floors in place of terrazzo. And since our funds were limited, we couldn't even buy tiles. But it was all right, because things were going to get better. Besides, we were just happy to be in our own place. Each month when the pension check came, we did a little more. By the time the mason had completed concreting the cesspool, the plumber was called in to hook up the plumbing. We were ecstatic. We would now be surrendering our slop jar for a show-enough toilet. We tied a red ribbon around the commode and had a ribbon-cutting ceremony in the toilet, or water closet as they call it in Ghana. And the elders got to sit first. The water had been off in the area for most of the day. According to the water company, they were not prepared for expansion in the pipes, which were originally used, when they would get better. The pipes were too small. We would just have to exercise patience. We had to wait a while longer to use the facilities, but we weren't complaining, for it would not be as long as it had been. We all retired early that night, having worked hard all day. I woke up about 1 o'clock that morning and decided to go out on the veranda. As my feet touched the floor, water was up to my ankles. Water was coming out of the walls. Water was coming out of the outlets, the electrical outlets. Water. I hollered, "Nana, Nana, Nana, wake up, wake up. There's water all over the place. I don't know where the water is coming from." When I say that water was coming out of the walls, we had no idea why this was happening. Well, one thing for sure is that the water company had turned the water back on. But the fact that we were almost swimming in our house. So the water flowed until daylight, and we got in touch with a plumber. Well, I want to say at this point that Brother Abraham, I call him to this day my favorite plumber. He has been our plumber since 1991 to this day. It's what, 2025? He's still our plumber. So when he came and started doing the work, we asked him, where's this water coming from and why? Well, he broke out the walls and he said, you know, in installing the pipes, you have PVC pipe, okay, elbow pipes. Well, the guy who had been the plumber that our brother Quadjo had hired got regular PVC pipe, heated it over the fire, and bent it and made it an elbow pipe. Well, naturally, after bending it, it cracked. So every place there was an elbow pipe, it was cracked. So the water, when it came on, naturally flowed through the crack. That was our first jackleg plumber. As I said to Abraham, it's my bro. If you can fix this, you will always be my plumber. And he has been our plumber until this day. But, you know, life will close. Our boxes with our papers in them got ruined because everything had been on the floor, but we didn't have any place to hang anything. We didn't have furniture, so stuff was on the floor. Needless to say, we survived. Then our next job was getting windows. Remember, we didn't have windows, so we put mosquito net up. You put up screens to keep out the mosquitoes. Like we put up doors to keep out the people who would come wandering through the house at any time. Yes, oh, is this your house? I'm like, yeah, excuse me. I mean, I'm just walking around in this unfinished house in my nightgown. Okay. So I must be living here. But it was one of those adventures in our creation process. Building the house, getting reacclimated to living in Africa. And I just see Tarzan swinging through the trees. I think I miss that more than anything else. So we finally went looking for the guy who we had given a deposit to find out what's the story on our whippos. And they said, oh, well, he's not here today. I said, well, is anybody else around that can help? Said, oh, come back tomorrow. And we went back the next day and this, come back tomorrow. So finally, on our third or fourth visit, now being short of patience, where is this guy? They said, oh, madame, he has gone to America without finishing our windows. So we finally found someone to fix the windows for us. And it just seemed so natural. You know, people acted like, oh, no, it's not a big thing. Yes, we know he took your money to build some windows, but he's gone to America, and we don't know when he's coming back. Two weeks later, someone from the same school that we had gone to came with our windows. We were so happy. Windows. Well, that happiness did not last very long because none of the damn windows fit. The windows didn't fit. I'm like, you came. You took the measurements. You said everything was going to be all right. I think one window fit. And we had about 20 windows, okay? Only one window fit. And the guy had the nerve to get an attitude. Well, I'm doing the best I can. Well, apparently, you're not a carpenter. Apparently, you could not read that tape measure that you used. He said, don't worry. Well, when people tell you in Ghana, don't worry, be very concerned. He went off with new measurements to fix the windows. I wish I could say that when he came back, everything was perfect. It wasn't. The windows still didn't. In fact, they were now too small instead of being too large. Sometimes, even today, I think about it and I get tired just thinking about what we went through to get this house together. Then we had an even bigger problem. We got through the water, we got through the windows, we got through the doors, we got through the floors, but we didn't have electricity. No wires had been run to hook up electricity. Coupled with the fact that if the wires had been there, we couldn't get electricity anyway because we didn't have any money. So not having electricity wasn't a real big deal because we did everything by the light of day. And nighttime, we burned candles and we had lanterns. It worked until we could get the money. Well, it took us 4 years of living by candlelight and lanterns, cooking outside because we didn't have a real kitchen. We would cook out on an open fire. And I don't like to cook, but I can throw down over an open fire like a barbecue. Or I can handle that, you understand? So for 4 years, we did not have electricity. And the lanterns and the candlelight made for a very romantic setting, almost like a second honeymoon with my husband. And the people in the village who my husband had helped to get electricity were always asking us, oh, Nana, why? You don't have electricity. The village has electricity. We can watch TV. Yeah, right. Our money put electricity in their village. And that's one of the reasons that they had made Nana a chief, because he did what chiefs were supposed to do, and that's help his village. And especially since he was a walking dollar bill. You know, dollar eggs, that was us coming out of America. So we made do. We didn't complain. We enjoyed being in Africa. Since we also did not have a computer or a refrigerator, there was no real rush. Any typing I had to do on my daddy's 40-year-old manual Royal typewriter, which I inherited when my mom died. As for refrigeration, as I said, we cooked daily. It ate what we cooked. Anything left over was breakfast in the zone. And so it was with our return home. This kind of living was a stranger to me, for I had traveled throughout South America and lived in some situations. I'd also lived in Jamaica, West Indies orphanage since 1972, and I lived with Bongo Shorty and Mama D. I thought that I wanted to live in Jamaica permanently at one time, but the pull of Africa was too strong, and none of us wanted to remain in Jamaica. But we had no electricity in our living area there either, other than that of a roadside streetlight. What was paramount was that we were home. It was shortly thereafter that we met Dr. Robert E. Lee, or Uncle Bobby as he's affectionately called. Uncle Bobby came to Ghana in 1957 at the invitation of his classmate and friend Osajifu Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who had also attended Lincoln University. We were reflecting and sharing some of our return home drama with Uncle Bobby. Ghanaians would call it Akan Drama, a daily soap opera open in different dialects. Listen, young people, he was 73 and we were mid-50s. If you're expecting someone to roll out the red carpet and celebrate your return, forget it. Celebrate your own return. I don't know where my family came from in Africa. I just know that my ancestors are from here. We need to stop trying to be Fanti, Ashanti, Ewe, Ga, or whatever. We have our own tribe, that tribe of Africans born in America, born in Europe, the Caribbean, and other parts of the diaspora. All descendants of those Africans sold into slavery and those who remained behind. That really made good sense to me.